श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। क्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजपुरोगिणां निधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। वेदव्यासं स्वात्मा रूपं सत्यसन्धं परायणं शान्तं जितेन्द्रियक्रोधं सशिष्यं प्रणमाम्यहम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। मूकं करोति वाचालं भङ्गं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। नारायणपुरो व्यक्तादण्डमव्यक्तसम्भवं मण्डस्यान्तस्तु मे लोकाः सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणे स्वयं व्यासेन कथितां पुराणमुनिनां मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायिनीं भात्वा मनसन्दतां भगवद्गीते भवेद्वेषिणी। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। अवतीर्णश्च कालट्यां मे केदारेन्तरितश्च चितस्पीदप्रतिष्ठाता येदाच्यङ्करो गुरुः। So here in the Jnana-Karma-Sanyasa Yoga, we were looking at the 28th shloka. Dravya Tapo Yajna Yoga Yajna Stadapre Swadhyaya Jnana Yajnascha Yataya Sanshitavrata. So we already looked at Dravya Yajna, Tapo Yajna, Yoga Yajna. So we looked at those three. So Dravya Yajna is part of that. Purta, Datta, the karmas one performs. Tapo Yajna looked at the tapas like Kricha Chandrayana, and then as part of Yoga Yajna we looked at the Yama Niyama Asana, those part of the Ashtanga Yogas, we looked at that as well. So now we look at the Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna. So Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna is the performers of the yajnas through the study and knowledge. So here Acharya says that Yathavidhi Rugadyabhyasa Yajna Yesham Te Swadhyaya Yajnaha. So the sacrificers through the study are those to whom the study of Rigveda and other Vedas according to the rules is a sacrifice. So one studying the Vedas according to the rules, Rigveda and others, according to the rules, is considered as Swadhyaya Yajna, Jnana Yajna. So the performers of the Yajna through study and through knowledge, those who are devoted to the study, that is Swadhyaya, of the Vedas according to the rules, are Swadhyaya Yajna. So they offer that as a sacrifice. And then the next one is Jnana Yajnascha. So here Jnana Yajna is the sacrifice through the knowledge or the Jnanam Śāstrārtha Parijñānam Yajna. So here sacrificers through the knowledge are those whom proper understanding and the meaning of the Shastras is a sacrifice. So those who are engaged in determining through reasoning the meanings of the Vedas are Jnana Yajna. So some of these yogis spend their sacrifices, they spend timing their life, their yajna is their karma, they perform, what they perform is they perform in determining through reasoning the meaning of those Vedas. So that is Jnana Yajna, understanding of those Shastras, meaning of those understandings. So Jnanam Śāstrārtha Parijñānam Yajna. So that is Jnana Yajna. Then the last part here, Yataya Sanshita Vrataha. So Yataya, so the others, the yatis, so the ascetics, those who are very diligent, they, in following the severe vows, that is vratas, that is sanshita vratas. So other ascetics, they follow severe vows, and that is their yajnas, their sacrifices. So samyak shitani tanukrutani tikshnikritani vratani. So Acharya here, Bhagavad says that those vratas have been fully sharpened, sanshita. They are fully sharpened, made very rigid, are the sanshita vratas. So the vratas which have been fully sharpened, made very rigid, such a vratas are sanshita vratas. So Sri Madhusudan Saraswati as well explains this. Similarly, he explains that Bhagavan here says the another type of sacrifice, that is the diligent ones, the ascetics, whose vows, the vratas are very severe, who are very firm in their vows. That is, their vows, they treat their vratas as a sacrifice. And Patanjali, for example, says that Jati Deshakala Samayana Vachinnaha Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. So Patanjali, when explaining the vratas, greatest of the vratas, similar to the Sanchita Vrata, he says Sanchita Vrata means the one which has been sharpened, made rigid, and who does very firm in their vows and things like that, right? Similarly, Patanjali uses the term Mahavrata. So he says that those Mahavratas are the ones which are Jati Deshakala Samayana Vachinnaha Sarvabhauma. So he says that these, when universal, unbroken by species, place, time, and purpose, such a vratas constitute as Mahavrata. So that was Patanjali says. So again, this word Mahavrata, these here, what it indicates is those yamas, niyamas, what we mentioned, right? So the 5 yamas, for example, we mentioned ahimsa, satya, steya, brahmacharya, parigraha, right? So we looked at those. So those yamas, when they become firmly established without limitation of a species, place, time, and purpose, they can be considered as Mahavratas or Sanshita Vratas. Okay, so here, so Patanjali uses the term Mahavrata. So Patanjali says that when these yamas, ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, parigraha, these firmly established without any limitations, without the limitations of species, place, time, and purpose, then it can be considered as a Mahavrata. So what is that limitations we're talking here? So for example, if we take ahimsa as an example, okay? So when we say limited by species, if someone says that I made a vrata, I am on a vrata, I'm not going to kill anything, I'm promised that I won't kill anything other than deer, okay? I will not kill anything other than deer, okay? So that means I'm only, if there is deer, I'm okay to kill, but all the others I won't kill. So that is, the vrata is limited by a species. Okay, so I'm saying that I'm doing this vrata, but there is one exception, that this species, one or more exceptions, that is this species by this species, that is my exception. Okay, so this is like I'm doing fasting, but I take fruits and this. Okay, that's kind of exception. Similarly here, ahimsa, it's limited by species, and the second one is limited by limited by place. So here, when one promises saying that I will not kill in a place of, for example, Tirtha Kshetras, or I will not kill in a temple. So I've seen examples. For example, we've seen in a temple, a snake, they find a snake, and carefully they manage to drive away that snake outside the temple. The moment it crosses the temple compound, boom, okay, they hit that snake and kill it. Inside the temple, they did not want to kill because that's cruel. Once it goes outside, boom. Okay, so here the vrata saying that I'm not going to kill something that's limited by that place. Okay, in the temple, I'm not killing. Similarly, if someone says, I'm not going to do any himsa in this Tirtha Kshetra, I'm going there, I'm not going to do anything. But rest of the time, I don't care. Outside that place, I'm not. Okay, that is not Mahavrata. Mahavrata is, it applies to every place, it applies to every species. And then it becomes limited by time. Okay, so when, for example, when promises saying that I will not kill on Ekadashi day, or I will not kill on Amavasya day, I will not kill on the festivals days, I will not do any himsas on that specific day because that's my birthday. Okay, so these kind of things, that's again limited by the time. Okay, other days I do, or some say that I'm going to do this kind of things only on those days, other days I'm not doing. So that's again limited by time. But Mahavratas do not have any such limitations. Then in the vrata is limited by purpose. Okay, so again, when in the form of some special need, for instance, in the case of a kshatriya, saying that who promises, saying that I will not kill other than fulfilling the needs of the devatas and brahmanas. So he says that I will not kill other than if it is to fulfill the purpose of devatas and brahmanas. Or he says that I will not kill unless it is in a battle. Okay, so this is all limited by the purpose. So like this, if a vrata has limitations of species, place, time, purpose, and these things, then it is not Mahavrata. Mahavratas are those who do not have any limitations of species, place, time, and purpose. Other examples like this, I will not speak untruth unless it is for the purpose of marriage. I will not steal except in the time of distress when I'm threatened with hunger. Then only I probably will steal. Otherwise, I will not steal. I will not approach my wife except for favorable for conception. Okay. Similarly, I will not accept any gift, any dana, more than what is necessary for my guru and my family or whatever. Okay. So this again, all this, what we saw, ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, all this, you can look at limitations by space, species, place, time, purpose, and things like that. But when those limitations are not there, the vrata is applicable to all the species, all the time, all the places, and there is no specific limitations on the purpose and things like that. Then it considered as a mahavrata. The limitations in each case we can look at that. I said ahimsa example. Similarly, you can look at aparigraha, brahmacharya, all those things we can look at that. Okay. Similarly, the examples apply. So Sri Vasun Saraswati says that एतादृगवच्छेद परिहारेण यदा सर्वजाति सर्वदेश सर्वकाल सर्वप्रयोजनेषु भावाः सार्वभौमा अहिंसादयो भवन्ति महता प्रयत्नेन परिपाल्यमानत्वात् तदा ते महाव्रत शब्देन उच्यन्ते. So he says that when ahimsa and others, like ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, parigraha, and like this, after being cultivated assiduously, they are shorn of such limitations and become universal in respect of all the species, sarva jati, all sarvadesha, sarvakala, sarva prayojanesha. So in respect of all the species, all the places, all the times, and all the purposes, when it becomes universal, then it is called Mahavratas, greatest of the vows, great vows. And those vratas, like Kastamona and so on things, all those vratas one performs, one should understand like this. So it should become devoid of any limitations, and it becomes universal with respect to all the species, all the places, all the times, and all the purposes. So then the vratas one performs are considered as mahavratas. So what is the benefit of such vratas? So again, in that Vyakhana, he says that etadrisha vratadhadhe cha kama krodha lobha mohanam chaturnaam api Narakadvara bhutanam nivrittihi. So when the vratas of this kind becomes firmly established, there follows the cessation of the four, that is kama, krodha, lobha, moha, desire, anger, greed, and delusion, which are the doors to hell. Narakadvara bhutanam. So they nivritti. So they are destroyed. Uh, there is an end to these four. And again, ahimsaya kshamaya krodasya. So he says that the elimination of anger comes from ahimsa and forgiving. So forgiveness and non-injury results in elimination of anger. Brahmacharyena vastu vicharena kamasya. So he says that elimination of desire and comes from continence and deliberation of reality. And asteya parigraha rupena santoshena lobhasya. So the elimination of greed that comes from contentment in the form of non-stealing and non-acceptance of gifts. So that's the elimination of greed. And then satyena yathartha jnana rupena vivekena mohasya tanmulanam cha sarvesham nivrittiriti drishtavyam. So he says that of delusion, the moha, delusion, and all those of which are of those which is the root here, those things are destroyed from the truth, satya, in the form of proper knowledge and from discrimination. So these vratas destroy these desire, anger, greed, more delusion, these kind of things through this ahimsa, brahmacharya, steya, parigraha, satya. These destroy those things, and that's what Sri Saraswati says. Again, Puranas as well talk highly of the performing the vratas, and some examples is, for example, it says that as long as the body is healthy and as long as there is no weakness in the sense organs, one should observe the vratas, because vratas has body as its fruit. This body, the receptacle of uncleanness, should be purified by the means of fasting or taking single meal or living on what is obtained without begging and things like that. Kritya, Chandrayana, and other vratas, those should be observed assiduously, since this impure body becomes pure by observing those vratas. And again, dharma stays firm in the body that is purified by the vratas, and artha and kama along with moksha stay where dharma is staying firmly. And that's why the vratas that contribute to the attachment of the dharma should be observed by everybody who are desiring of gain of this dharma, artha, kama, moksha. They should observe these vratas. Some of the vratas, for example, what vratas one could, again, vratas we see Janmashtami vrata, Shivratri vrata, Pradosha vrata, Navaratri vrata, various other vratas, right? So like this, what are the vratas one could perform? Some of the examples are, for example, here we see that laying on the bare ground, sleeping on the bare ground, brahmacharya, abstaining from eating certain food stuff, and the vrata of taking single meal in a day, and then some charity every day in according to one's capacity, listening to the Puranas, acting according with the themes said in those Puranas, maintaining continuous deepa, lamps before the devatas, in your puja room, keeping deepa continuously running. Okay, so that's a vrata. Keeping awake and the worship of the devata of one choice, for example, Krishna Janmashtami, Shivratri, and those kind of days, we stay awake and worship, right? Devatas of choice. And then homa in the sacred Agni, the homa performed. Devotion to the Brahmanas is a vrata. Faith in dharma is a vrata. and auspicious intellect is a vrata. Association with the good people is a vrata. So adoration of Bhagavan is a vrata. Truthfulness in speech is a vrata. Mercifulness in heart, straightforwardness, sweet speech, perpetual interest in good conduct, recitation of the Vedas, japa of Veda mantras, refraining from stealing and non-violence, modesty, bashfulness, forbearance, mental and sensual controls, absence of greed, freedom from anger, nirmoha, which is the absence of infatuation or delusion, and amamata, which is escheval of sense of possession, interestedness, knowledge about Vedic rituals and rites, absolute dedication of mind and movements to Bhagavan, various kind of vratas one could perform. Okay, it doesn't have to be fasting alone or doing puja alone. Okay, or could be just, as said here, looking after the cows. That could be a vrata. Okay, so our brahmanas or speaking sweet speeches always. Okay, that's my vrata. So the various type of vratas could be performed. The persons with whom, again, while one is performing the vratas, one should not talk to the people who are prohibited in Shastra, saying that one should not speak. Again, when one is performing the vratas, one should always speak the truth, and the observers of the vrata should avoid such as grains and lentils. For example, they should avoid certain grains and lentils like nishpava, masura, and kodrava, and things like that. Certain lentils are mentioned, and also one should stay among the clean people, and non-observers observer of the vrata should not be touched by those who is observing the vratas. The teeth, hair, cloth, and things like that, they should be kept clean and washed every day during the vratas, and no evil thoughts should be entertained by the heart during those vratas. So like this, vratas should be performed. Any vrata should be performed, and again, the importance again here is those vratas should be sanchita vratas. They should be here, as said in this shloka, they should be very sharpened, they should be very rigid. Then, and performing those vratas. So here some what Bhagavan is saying here is some yatis, ascetics, they perform these vratas itself. They consider that itself as a sacrifice. So that is yataya sanchita vrata. So Bhagavan here says that now in the next set of shlokas, Bhagavan talks about another type of vrata that is in the form of pranayama. So in the 29th shloka, so that this concludes this dravya yajna, stapa yajna, yoga yajna, stadapare. This 28th shloka is concludes with this vrata's explanation. In the next set of shlokas, Bhagavan explains another type of vrata or sacrifice, sorry, not vrata, sacrifice performed by these yogis. He explains about the pranayama. So we'll look at that one. So here, the 29th shloka goes as apane jihvati pranam, prane apanam tathapare, pranapanagati rudva, pranayama parayanaha. So here this shloka is like this, but we also see what happens is Sri Shankaracharya explains 29th shloka separately, 30th separately, and then 31st separately in his Bhashya. But if we take Sri Madhusudan Saraswati, he takes the 30th shloka's first half along with the 29th shloka. Okay, so three padas come together here. He adds apare nihatahara pranan praneshu juhvati. He takes that as part of this pranayama explanation, and then he takes away svvp yajna vido yajna chapita kalmashaha yajna shishtamrita bhujo yanti brahma sanataram. He takes that as a single set of sloka. And then the last pada of 31st shloka, he says, Nayam lokas yajnasya kuton anya kurusattama. So he takes that as a separate part. Okay, so in this explanation, Sri Madhusudan Saraswati, but because we are going based on Sri Shankaracharya's Bhashya, Gita Bhashya, we will go as per the standards. Here's 29th shloka separately and then 30th, both padas together. Even though the reason I will explain, because apare nihatahara pranam pranesh yuhaditi, 30th shloka, first pada, that some link that to the pranayama itself. Okay, the food control is linked to the pranayama, but some say that nihatahara, that food control which talks about, is a separate sacrifice itself. So that's why, depending on how one treats that, it could be linked to the previous two padas, or it could be separate. But here we look at just the first part of this shloka. So the 29th shloka alone first. Okay. Apane jihvade pranam, prane panam tadhapare, prana panagati ruddhva, pranayama parayana. So apane, the others offer prana in apana and apana in prana, restraining the passages of prana and apana absorbed in pranayama. So that's the meaning of the shloka. So apane means the incoming breath, jihvati means offer, pranam means the outgoing breath, prane means in the outgoing breath, apanam means in the incoming breath, tatha means also, apare means others, prana means of the outgoing breath, apana means in the incoming breath, and the gati means movement, ruddhva means blocking, pranayama means controlling of breath, parayana means wholly devoted. So this shloka, Acharya explains like this. He says that constantly practicing the control of these vital forces, these breaths, that is, they practice, these yogis, they practice in the form of pranayama called kumbhaka, which is the stopping of breath either inside or outside. That is pranayama parayana. Those is constantly practicing the control of these vital breaths, these vital forces, by stopping the movement of the outgoing and incoming breaths. Mukha nasikabhyam vayo nirgamanam pranasya gati. The outgoing breath, exhalation through the mouth and the nostrils, is the movement of prana. Okay, so mukha nasikabhyam vayo nirgamanam pranasya gati. So the outgoing breath through the mouth and the nostrils is the prana, the movement. That movement is known as prana. Tadviparyena adhogamanam apanasya gati. So as opposed to that, the movement of apana is going down of the breath, inhalation. And these constitute the prana apana gati, movement of prana and apana. So prana and apana. By stopping this, some juhvati offer, some offer as a sacrifice the pranam. They offer pranam, the outgoing breath, which is in this, which is a function of prana, and the incoming breath, which is the function of apana. They offer, that is, they practiced a form of pranayama called puraka, which is filling in, while others offer apanam, that is incoming breath in the outgoing breath. So they offer, while the others still offer the incoming breath in the outgoing breath, they practice in this form of pranayama in the form of a rechaka, that is emptying out. So constantly practicing this breath controls, vital forces, they perform kumbhaka after rechaka and puraka. Puraka is ingoing, rechaka is outcoming, and kumbhaka is the one either holding internally or externally. So like this, they offer this sacrifice. That is their sacrifice. So again, some people, so again, Bhagavan is explaining different types of yogis here. from the 24th shloka, like Brahmagno Brahmana, Brahmarpanam Brahmahave. From that shloka, he is explaining the different types of yogis. Here he says that some of those yogis, they offer as a sacrifice this function of this vital force called prana in apana, in the function of vital force called apana. That is, it is like they perform the pranayama called puraka, filling in by filling the external air into the body. Still others, they offer the apana, which is ingoing, in the prana, and that means they perform the pranayama called rechaka by throwing out, by expelling the air within the body. So by mentioning the puraka and rechaka here, two things, kumbhaka, which is the holding of the breath, is also understood here in this shloka and becomes mentioned by that very fact that it is puraka and rechaka are mentioned here. And Sri Madhu Saraswati explains that Yata Shakti Vayumapuryanantaram Shvasa Prashvasa Nirodha Kriyamano Antha Kumbhakaha. So he says that the Kumbhaka is of two types. One is internal Kumbhaka, another one is external Kumbhaka. Internal Kumbhaka is the one where Yata Shakti Vayumapuryanantaram Shvasa Prashvasa Nirodha Kriyamano Antha Kumbhaka. So he says that the internal Kumbhaka is when the stoppage of the inhalation and the exhalation is practiced after drawing in the air according to one's capacity. So internal Kumbhaka is you take the air inside and then hold it. That is Antha Kumbhaka. And then Yata Shakti Sarvam Vayum Virichanantaram Kriyamano Bhai Kumbhaka. So the external Kumbhaka is that when practiced after expelling the air according to one's capacity, completely expelling out, and then you hold. Okay, so that means empty chest, you hold that is Bhai Kumbhaka. So Shvasa Prashvasa and Nirodha here is this. Shvasa means intake, Prashvasa means release. So when one intakes and controls those things, so this is Bhai Kumbhaka or Antha Kumbhaka, one could practice. So after having mentioned these three pranams, so Puraka, Rechaka and Kumbhakas, Bhagavan speaks of the next one type here, of which is the Kumbhaka of Prana Pana Gati. So the movement of prana and apana. The movement of prana consists of outflow of internal air through the nostrils and mouth. The movement of apana consists of inflow of the externalized air. So external air going inside. Among them again, Puraka, where there occurs the stoppage of movement of prana. When Puraka is happening, prana movement which is going out stops, and when Rechaka happens, that is going out, while air is going out, at that time movement of apana stops. So that means the apana is the movement inside, the vital force moving inside, that stops. And in Kumbhaka, both movements are stopped. Okay, so like this, but others who are different from the previous mentioned, now mentioned, they are pranayama parayanaha, who remain engaged in the pranayama. So pranayama, prana pana gati rudva. So they remain in the pranayama by stopping the movements of prana and apana, the exhalation and inhalation, successfully and simultaneously. By stopping that, they offer as a sacrifice. That is they merge through the practice of Kumbhaka, this fourth pranayama. They control that. So that's what mentioned here in this shloka. And the next, as I said, the next part of the next shloka is as well part of that, is linked to this. So here in the 30th shloka, Bhagavan says that apare niyata aharaha pranan praneshu juhvati sarvepyeti yajna vido yajna kshapita kalmashaha. So the others with regulated food offer this life breath, prana in the life breath, as these are knows of the sacrifice whose sins are destroyed by the sacrifice. Okay, so that's the meaning here. Apare means others, niyata means having control, ahara is food intake, pranan means life breath, praneshu means life energy, again life breath, juhvati means sacrifice, sarve means all, api means also, ete means these, yajna means yajnavida means knower of the one who knows about the sacrifices. Yajna kshapita means the one who is being cleansed by the performance of the sacrifices. Kalmasha means of impurities. So here the again Bhashya Shankara Bhagavad explains that besides the others, apare others, they having their food regulated offer the pranan, the vital forces. So again, pranan here includes all the prana, apana, everything. So the controlling of those airs, movements, vital forces, breaths, controlling that, they offer, having the food regulated, they offer those pranas, pranavayus, the different kind of vital forces in the vital forces themselves. They offer that in the prana vayu itself. So here pranan is used as a plural here because only one pranavayu, but based on the work it does, it's normally mentioned as a 5 different things, or some places it mentioned as 10 different things, but normally we say pancha pranas. Okay, so the 5 different names: Hruday prana, Uday apana, samano navimandale, udana kanta deshasya, vyana sarva sharira. So prana is in the heart, engaged in breathing. Okay, and apana is the one that's downward movement when normally, for example, air goes out of the bottom. That's known as apana vayu. And then samana is the one that controlling the balance of the body. It's stays in the nabi mandala, in the navel region. And then vana is the one that's helping the movement of the legs, hands, and things like that. So that helps in that kind of movement. That's the air. And then which is in the sarva sharira, all over the body. And udana is the one that's coming up, uttana. So that's coming up, like for example, burp and bringing the sound from the stomach to the mouth and things like that. So the voice coming out, all those things, that's through the help of udana. So here the pranan mentioned because it includes all these type of things. Okay, so the controlling of that and offering that in itself is considered as a sacrifice, and they do that through niyatahara, having regulated food. So niyatahara means, again, niyatahara is controlling of the food, that is through again Śāstra say hitabuk, mitabuk, and kalabuk. So that means eat hitabuk, what is good. Okay, so we will look at that later in Gita when we look at the gunas and things like that. When we look what is the good food looks like, for example, ghees and sweets and things like that, they are considered as good, but the pungent, the salty, the old stale foods and those kind of things are not good, and things like that. Okay, so those good quality food. And then mitabuk means having as just as needed. Okay, again, mitabuk normally says, Shastra says that half stomach should be filled with food, quarter should be empty kept for water, and half should be kept empty for air. So one should always fill half the stomach, not full. So that is mitabuk. Kalabuk means eating on a timely fashion when it should be eaten. So and eating as well, pavitra, clean food as well is important here. So when niyatahara means clean food as well, satvika food, yajna shesha, so leftover after offering the sacrifices, whether it is daily pancha yajnas or whatever that's performed. After that, offering the atithis and everybody, after that, whatever that's left, that's again niyatahara. Or Swaya and also Swayarjita. It is earned rightfully, the food. So such a food is also Niyatahara Pan. So wherever the function of these vital forces brought under control, in it they offer other functions, and these later become, as it were, merged in the former. So that's what's said in this shloka, where pranan pradeshu jupati. So that's the meaning again, but here Srimad Saraswati explains quite extensively on the pranayama itself. He says quite a bit. We probably have to look at that next time, but we'll just quickly look at a little bit on the first half again, what he says, Avareniyathara, that part of the shloka, where he says that those, again, he says similar thing. He says that those who are different from the earlier ones, the sacrifice offerings, that's yogis we mentioned. Here, these ones who remain engaged in the pranayama by stopping the movement of prana and apana, which is exhalation and inhalation successfully and simultaneously, who are well regulated in their food, who are endued with discipline of yoga, with the regulation of the food and things like that, they offer as a sacrifice, merge through the practice of kumbhaka, the pranas in the form of sense organs and karmendriya and jnanendriyas, in the pranas itself, in these vital forces which have been controlled through practice of internal and external kumbhakas. So through that they offer, and that's how those yogis work. Those yogis offer as their sacrifice. So then Srimad Saraswati explains using Sri Patanjali Yoga Śāstra. He explains more about this Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Pranayama. So we probably will look at that next time, because that's going to take some time to go through that.